Hey, good morning, everyone. PT Breakfast Club is back. So I'm here with Dave Kittle. I'm Tony Maritato. Jimmy McKay is joining as soon as he reboots his computer. So, Dave, man, Ohio March, the cold weather is back. I thought we were done. I thought it was spring. We started spring baseball. Like, I thought the weather was beautiful, and they just crushed us with this freezing cold weather. What's it like up in New York?
I had a game on Sunday, first game for a different league to cover my buddy's team. They needed a shortstop, so I was like happy to help. The issue was I had to go to New Jersey, but because I'm in Brooklyn, but it was cold. I had my hand in my back pocket the whole,
Yeah,
in between every pitch. It was cold. It was like the game was, I don't know, 40 or something to
yeah.
start, 40 something, and I mean the sun was out, but it was cold. What's the temperature right now in Ohio? Because right now we're 43 right now in Brooklyn. What do you got?
Yeah, we're about the same. We're like low 40s. It's going down into the 30s at night. It's hitting like mid 50s in the day. And it's just gray. It's gray outside. So let's jump into some marketing stuff. But first, kind of news headline. I caught this morning. You probably don't know about this. It doesn't apply to you, but Medicare has a reduction called the MPPR. It's a multiple payment procedure reduction. Basically, what Medicare does is they say, hey, we're going to include an element that goes to covering cost and overhead. So, with that, if you're billing more than a single unit, we already paid you for use of the clinic. We're not going to pay you for using the clinic four times, like it's four different clinics if you do 4 units. So they pay you the highest relative value unit in full. Then they reduce all subsequent units. It doesn't matter if it's the same CPT code, different CPT codes, whatever. Um, they were the only ones doing this for a long time. Well, surprise, surprise, commercial insurance got wind of it. I just saw Michigan is starting for Blue Cross Blue Shield. They're applying MPPR reductions April 1st. And everybody's freaking out because this really represents almost a 20% reduction if you're doing a 4 unit visit. So imagine you were collecting here in Ohio, we collect $80 for 4 units, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Imagine losing 20% of the $80, kills your revenue, wipes out all of your profit. Like there's just no opportunity. But to the insurance company, it's a glitch that they didn't realize that they should have been applying forever. They're just realizing now, oh, why are we paying for use of the facility 4 times when they're only using it 1 time? So that was a big one. Any thoughts about that before we hit the marketing stuff?
I was gonna say, do you want me to speak on this? Do you want me to give my thoughts?
Of
Because
course, the
I
people
don't,
want to know.
you know, as you're talking, I was thinking, all right, well, what's the opposite of a reduction? Like an increase, right? Like
Sure.
boosting or an increase. Uh, and we know that to even fight that, literally that payer, that decision. If you're a practice that has some patients with that payer mix, how do you fight that one thing? And I know we've talked about it a bunch, self-pay services or whatever. Um, Maybe it's for today to talk about, maybe another time to talk about, but patients don't understand. Like even when people call here and call into my practice and uh, it's more than they thought. I just spoke. Here's an example. I just spoke with someone yesterday, and she has vertigo, BPPV, and she was complaining about it was going to take weeks or months to get into Rusk at NYU for a follow visit for this. And I said, yeah, no, I totally understand. I'm like, we have availability tomorrow, which would be, that was yesterday, so today, and that's the way that we can beat free, because she wanted to use her Medicare or Medicare Advantage plan or whatever, and that is a whole gray area. But um, I mean, either patients are going to pay out of pocket, or you're going to try to go do these wacky tech things that Tony Maritato is doing, which is trying to monetize YouTube videos and all that type of stuff. But I don't know, maybe that's something for us to talk about briefly now, or another episode where owners that don't want to do all the videos like you, Tony, and they don't want to you know create courses to sell to therapists or whatever. Like how do they specifically fight this in my opinion, it's you have to pass it on to the patient. The whole political thing with the tariffs and all that, it's no different. This has to be passed on to the patient or the future patients, or and some patients are going to feel like they're being nickel and dime. So that is the challenge. How can we rise up and take away the reduction from the insurances and fight those immediately by saying, either we're going to provide different services that are out of pocket, or we're going to nickel and dime your current services and charge you a little bit out of pocket. Anyway,
So,
and Jimmy's on. So good morning, Jimmy.
Let me start by saying I'm a lover, not a fighter. I don't fight anything. Fighting to me is a complete waste of time. I don't fight my kids on going to bed early. I don't fight payers on paying me more. I don't fight anything. So Jimmy, before you got on, I had said I saw a headline: Michigan Blue Cross Blue Shield is applying the MPPR reduction. It's about a 17 to 20% reduction on gross revenue if you're billing 4 units. So Dave, what do we do? Okay, how do we make this work? I've shared this a bunch of times. You'll remember when I talk about it. It's the key is you still get paid the full allowed amount on the highest relative value unit. So why are we arbitrarily saying every patient needs 60 minutes? Why are we arbitrarily saying everybody needs 4 units? Just because that's what works on our schedule, right? Why not 30 minutes? We've seen a lot of big providers go to 30-minute spots for Medicare when the Medicare financial threshold came into place. Why not 15? Why not 10? The CPT code goes down to 8 minutes. Why not say, okay, I believe I would rather see somebody 5 days in a row. If I'm really doing what I believe is best for the patient, this is my true belief. I would rather see that person 5 days in a row. I'd rather spend 10 dedicated minutes with them 5 days in a row. That's 50 minutes. That's roughly an hour if we think there's some magic in an hour. But the difference is each day I pick one specific thing that we're going to work on. We know that third-party payers are paying us for a return to function, primarily in the home and self-care. I've got to say, you guys know that I said I'm never hiring another therapist again. I hired another therapist.
What? Hey, all right. Yes.
It's
Hold
not
on.
what you
I
think,
am about
though.
to give you a standing ovation. Hold on. I can't stand. I got this fixed here, but I'm standing.
It's not what you think. I'll tell you what it is in a minute. Point being, there's no magic in 4-unit visits. If I'm really looking to optimize what's available, what I can deliver, who I can deliver it to, and what I think is the best outcome, I'm going to just switch to a 1-unit visit 5 days in a row. If I can't do 5 because of transportation, I'll do 2 or 3. That dramatically increases, like triples my profit, net profit, dramatically increases my revenue. And guys, remember, the patients are going to places right now. Okay, we hear all these arguments. Oh, patients only get 10 minutes with a therapist. So why don't we capitalize on that? Why reject that? Why not capitalize it and just say, hey, I will give you 10 amazing visits. And then you know what? You could do all the other stuff that insurance isn't supposed to pay for anyway. You can go out there, ride the bike. You can ride the elliptical. You can do your stretches and the foam roll. You can use some of the gadgets, like we have the belt massager and the other kinds of massagers. None of that stuff is covered by insurance, but this isn't easy. Within a day, you can make this, you can adapt to it. I've still to today, I use single visit sessions a lot. I've never had a patient complain. I've never had a patient say they want more. I've never had any negative response. And this is how I could continue to operate a small clinic, low volume, hardly any staff, in a profitable way and compliant, because I just change what I'm doing to kind of fit the environment. What do you think?
So wait, let me just make sure I'm understanding this and recapping it well. So we're saying that Medicare is going to reduce the payment for any units past the first one, right?
Medicare already does.
Right.
Commercial payers are starting to.
Got it. So what you're saying is, well, if the first one's really is going to be more expensive, why not do the first one, but 5 days a week instead of doing 4 in a row in one session?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, instead of fighting and trying to get, I fought the law and the law won, it's never a shock. Instead of doing that, you're just you're spreading the Lego bricks horizontally instead of making the Lego bricks tall on one day.
Everybody wins. Medicare. So typically Medicare, a Medicare clinic would do 2 visits a day, 4-unit visits. That's 8 units a week. My method, they get 5 units a week. Medicare saves paying on 3 units a week. My method, the patient gets 5 days in a row instead of 2 days. I think there's better compliance, better outcomes, better response, everything. I make more money. Like, all 3 of us win in this scenario. And Medicare has published examples where I can have John, James, and Joseph in my clinic at the same time, spend 10 minutes with each of them, bill one one-on-one code to each of them in 30 minutes, and it's 100% compliance. While I'm with John, the other 2 guys are doing their own thing that they need to do anyway. What's up, Dave?
Got to push back on it a little bit, of
Let's hear
course. So there's a couple things to unpack. One, I've said it before, you'll have to have your Medicare beneficiary now actually get in their car, prepare, get dressed, whatever, come to your clinic, drive, park, all that type of stuff. 5 days out of the week now instead of 2 or 3. So that's a little bit extra. I know you all know that sometimes these older individuals have like one thing a day that they're going out for. So like if they have another doctor's appointment, they're not going to come to your office. That's at least my experience. If they have some other, lunch meeting, Zoom call, whatever, like that thing is going to be like the whole day thing, and they're not going to come to your office. I think you're going to have a practice that has operational excellence in terms of efficiency with scheduling and confirming visits and making sure that they're actually going to be coming 5 days a week, the same person instead of 2 or 3 times a week. It just requires more. I understand that if they do show up for 5 days in a row, I understand how that could be better with the MPPR. So it could be more profitable than 2 visits a week, and you bill 3 or 4 whatever units or 5 units per visit, and then you're going to get hit down by MPPR. I get that. So you have the potential extra admin burden unless you have like a good EMR that's sending out the text and the email reminders and all that. For these individuals to actually come back into the office. But with depending on how far someone lives from your office, if they're nearby, it's probably easier. The further they live away from your office, I think the more challenging it could become. Plus, another thing that we mentioned before, if you're going to have a lot more shorter visits, wouldn't that mean that you're going to need more patients like today? So today is Tuesday. If you're having your caseload today be 1 or 2 units only, let's just say across every payer, compared to 1 hour visits or 4 units or whatever, wouldn't you need more patients to actually come into your office today on Tuesday compared to a 3 or 4 or 5 unit visit?
Yeah, so let's talk about that. What has been one of the biggest barriers to clinics scaling and growing? Lack of staff. What happens with lack of staff? Wait lists. How do we get rid of wait lists? We shorten visits and we increase access. Like, this would be the solution to a smaller practice who hasn't been able to recruit more therapists, but still has people on a wait list. There are so many therapists with wait lists right now. Eliminate the wait list. The usual arguments I get, just like you're saying, well, Medicare beneficiaries don't want to come in 5 days in a row. Have you asked? Like, have you literally asked? Have you said? Because you know what? You bathe 5 days in a row. You brush your teeth 5 days in a row. If you are serious about changing something, going somewhere 5 days in a row for a predetermined amount of time, we're not saying forever. We're saying, give me 3 weeks, give me 6 weeks, give me whatever. If you really want to change this shoulder, this back, this, repeated falls, whatever, you need people. Now, if a person's willing to do it, guess what? They're a better candidate for a positive outcome, right? How many times do we have a patient coming in once or twice a week? They low priority for therapy. They go get their blowout instead of going to therapy. Do they really get better? Are we just wasting Medicare tax dollars on somebody who doesn't care about what you're actually doing? Conversely, somebody who's in here 5 days a week, we've got our coffee bunch out there. We're telling jokes, we're hanging out, we're talking to each other. And to your point, you need to have that kind of community. You need to be close enough where it's not a huge burden. I'm in a city where everybody's within 5 to 6 minutes away. I've got ample parking. That's why I chose this location. You literally park in 10 feet. You're in my clinic. I built a business and a model that supports that kind of service delivery.
Can you answer the more patients coming in today? Like, let's say a practice that's watching or listening, they don't have a wait list, but they were going to adopt this model. They would need more marketing, correct? They would need more people to, book and confirm and come in today, correct? Or no?
Potentially. It depends on how you're getting your patients. We've got such deep roots. We've got so many great connections with the referral sources that we're getting plenty of referrals. I would say you've got places like me who already have a steady stream of patients without the marketing. You've got patients that have a wait list that don't know what to do with that wait list. They're waiting 3 to 6 weeks. We're already like these two scenarios are already geared up. We don't need more marketing. If somebody's coming in brand new right out of the gate, yeah, they need to market. They need to get people. But still, I don't know. I would have to do the math. Okay, so 8 units of care versus 5 units of care. I would need to make up those 3 units in additional referrals, but I don't think it would take that many more referrals because the frequency is increased. And I think that's where you're getting the same bodies in more often. You don't need a lot more new bodies. You need some, you don't need a lot.
I don't like it, but it makes some sense in terms of adapting or navigating or responding to these changes of MPPR. Still a reimbursement and payment issue though.
And at no point did you go into a Facebook group and yell and just that was your solution
anonymously.
Right. How is that not your first thought, Tony?
But back to, I'm not a fighter. I'm not going to fight insurance on this. Like, to me, they realized that there was something wrong with their system and they fixed the problem on their end, Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I still have to go back to, guys, I have health insurance. I believe you have health insurance. I virtually hire my health insurance to protect me and to negotiate lower rates so I can afford services that I am buying. Health insurance, we know, is not health care. These are very different things. Health insurance is just a financial tool, an asset, a vehicle. So when I'm on the consumer side buying health insurance, I'm looking at very different things than when I'm on the beneficiary side utilizing the health insurance. But we have to understand that distinction, even if our patients don't. Because if we understand it, we can then work within that system or go Dave's route, like take the high road, leave the insurance, the third party.
Oh, Tony just bounced out.
He's like, I'm out. Mic drop moment.
Tony, you all right?
I mean, the thing is, it doesn't really matter what you think or what is fair. This is. I mean, I think Tony would agree. I think you would agree, which is nice to have people advocate for you on Capitol Hill. I think these things should always happen. But if you're holding your breath, waiting for those things and those results to come, you're going to pass out. And if you do it long enough, you're not going to exist anymore. So by trying the new things and not necessarily fighting, and when Tony said I'm a lover, not a fighter, I really thought he's being more Bruce Lee than that, which is be water. And if this is going to be the situation, I can't fight it. I can't change it. I'm going to deal with it. How can I deal with it? These are just a couple of different ways.
Yeah. I mean, there's different ways to respond or fight or, whatever, however Tony is describing, but, yeah. Any other thoughts on that from what you're seeing on the revenue cycle management side? Any other grumblings that you're hearing from your company, your colleagues?
No, which is, listen, I mean, there's a lot of codes that you might not be billing at all. I know we're trying to, this is an example of a reduction. I used the example just the other day when I was at the conference with Physical. I was given a demo in the hallway. Just happened to talk to some people and they said, what do you do? And I sort of resisted because I wasn't there as an official sponsor. So I resisted sort of do it on my phone. And they said, well, this feels like it's found money. I'm like, it's like change underneath your couch cushions, but over and over again. So if this isn't an example for something reviewing your billing or something reviewing your revenue cycle management, I'm not sure what is.
All right, I got back. Can you guys hear me?
Hear you. Did you have something else to say regarding the way you were describing, like what you feel you have your health insurance, how you use it, how you look at it? You had a little bit more to that.
I mean, I teach this in one of my courses. I'm like, look, guys, when we're buying health insurance, there's things that we need to consider. We need to be an educated consumer of a financial product. Yes, we're looking at the monthly premium. We're looking at the deductible. We're looking at our own risk profile. But we're also looking at stuff like the negotiated fee rate. Like, how many people, when they're going to buy health insurance, they want to make sure their doctor's in network. But how many of them try to find information about what is the negotiated fee rate so that I know what it costs if I have a high deductible plan, which I do, HSA, high deductible. What's it going to cost me if I do want to go to therapy? What's it going to cost me if I go to the ER for a broken bone? Because my kids are breaking bones right now. Like, all of that stuff. I want to know. I can, here in Ohio, I can get the same coverage, but one insurance has lower negotiated rates. I'm going to save more on the consumer side buying health insurance. Like, this is a decision that takes time and education, and you need to make a good decision. But I've never made as much money on stocks or business or other things than I've seen my own mom make on health insurance. And it was a horrible outcome. I have shared this story before. Like, she paid $10,000 a year. She didn't use her health insurance 5 years in a row, 50,000 invested. But on the fifth year of that policy, she had a car accident. She had a brain bleed. She had an ICU admission. She was skilled nursing. She racked up $500,000 in services that were covered by the health insurance. There's no investment that I know of that in 5 years she could have put 50,000 in and got 500,000 of value out. So, like, we don't want to look at it in those terms, but that's the reality of the situation. So just lots of this discussion, more than we have time for today.
But all those providers that provided that care probably got paid, and maybe there were no reductions. We don't know.
They got paid. Yeah, they all got paid. I'm sure they didn't feel that they got paid enough, but you know what? They agreed to the pay rate. If I hire Jimmy and we agree on a rate, Jimmy can't go back and then start complaining that he's not getting paid enough. Don't agree to the rate in the first place. Take the higher rate.
But the next time he can say it's a higher rate. The terms are changed because of these these forces or these dynamics in the market. Now things are different.
If he has the negotiating power, he can try to demand a higher rate. If I'm the consumer buying Jimmy's services, I have the right to say no.
Exactly. Yes.
So if enough therapists say no to insurance reimbursement, then insurance would have to raise reimbursement. But like, if you want to fight, okay, I'm not a union guy, but it's like, that's the only thing in the world that makes any sense to me is you say, okay, collectively, we're going to say we can't accept this rate anymore. Everybody gets out of network. But you know what? You also run the risk of somebody, the payer, finding an alternate solution that's less expensive than therapy. And all of a sudden therapy goes bye-bye because now third-party payers realize there's no reason to even pay for physical therapy. Classic example, hip replacements. I got my first referral for a hip replacement in like 3 years. All the hip replacements vanished overnight because they changed the surgical approach. They changed what they were doing. Now nobody refers hip replacements out to therapy anymore. We could easily see that happening with a multitude of conditions that probably don't even need physical therapy. Just drive the cost of care up. Just makes it frustrating for the powers that are making the decision. I think there are real threats. Those are real threats to the profession.
Well, those issues come later when these patients that didn't have any formal functional foundation before the hip replacement surgery, because they had some wear and tear, they probably maybe were weak or had instability or whatever. In not every case, but in enough cases, the folks that eventually have a hip replacement, there was 10 years or something leading up to some dysfunction leading up to this hip replacement. Then they have hip replacement, then they're not referred to physical therapy. Okay, yeah. Like, then that means physical therapists are not putting out enough, social media content or ads or whatever, like if they wanted to target them. But then a lot of times, Tony, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, but years later, these individuals come in there and you find this out in the intake. They had a hip replacement 1 or 2 or 5 or whatever years ago. And now they're, 65 and they need a cane or a walker just to walk around. So I think a lot of, regardless of the, the insurance component of this, those patients that have a hip replacement are often living through a disservice of the whole financial insurance model around just that procedure and that condition. Now they can't walk, or they have an issue with falling, or not clearing their foot with swing phase or going up and down steps. And a lot of that could have been, it could have been prevented if they had some conservative care somewhere along the line. But if they weren't referred because of bundle payments or because of the new surgical approach or whatever, anyway, it oftentimes it comes back to the incentives.
I agree. And I agree. Somebody had just shared on LinkedIn, and I replied, a contrarian view, of course. Basically, he was saying, we know that physical therapy reduces healthcare costs. We know that it reduces surgery. We know all of these benefits associated with physical therapy. I don't know that we know that. He said, well, there are studies showing it. I would question the validity of those studies and the bias in those studies. So I went back and I said, okay, I do agree that when used properly, physical therapy has those benefits, but why start at physical therapy? Why not go back? Why not eat better, sleep better, have better, lifestyle management? Like, why not go back to kids? Bring phys ed back into the schools. Bring the presidential fitness testing back into the schools. Like, you see those videos on Facebook, black and white, of young people doing monkey bars and climbing walls and climbing ropes. Did you guys ever climb the rope at school when you were a kid?
So, totally safe. Totally safe.
Okay.
Let's have a 9-year-old climb the equivalent of a 2.5-story building. But listen, guys, did you look on the floor? There was a 3/4-inch foam mat. We were playing.
No one was catching you. Your gym teacher was not catching you.
Not a chance.
I love that CrossFit brought it back. When I was in CrossFit, we did it, and it was so much fun. Point being, there's lots of ways to bring down the cost of healthcare. I don't think physical therapy is at the top of anyone's list. I don't think anyone has an appetite to pay more, from the insurance provider to the patient to anyone else. So we can keep fighting that battle. I think it's a waste of time. I think we need to adapt to the environment we're moving into. I know Dana's here. We move into, the environment that Dana's been promoting, where we become part of a holistic team. We move into the environment that Dave is promoting, where we go direct to consumer. Dave's never going to treat 1,000 patients a week. He's not going to deliver 1,000 visits a week. So why even bother with that conversation? Just focus on the people who, value what Dave is delivering, are willing and capable of paying for it. And I think that's really where we are going to have the biggest impact, like right now, today. Today, I can see single unit visits all day long, and I can triple my patient volume, which means zero wait, less barrier to entry. Everybody saves money, and I make more money.
Consumers need a reason. They need a reason to even consider the possibility of paying out of pocket for physical therapy or prehab or the run DNA or the soft wave treatment, like whatever the modality or intervention, or remote programming out of pocket, whatever. Like, they need a reason, because historically they didn't get that reason conditionally from their parents, from their family, from their friends, from their employer, their health plan, whatever.
It's always that. Always sell the hole, not the drill, right? I mean, just telling people to go to physical therapy because was never a good idea.
Dana said higher fee-for-service reimbursements, a non-starter. It's not the solution. I totally agree. This horse is done. Let's go to Dave. Dave and I, before we started, we were talking about some marketing stuff. Dave's working on a mailer. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing. I'd love to hear Jimmy's perspective on it.
Yeah, so this was so one thing that got me on the idea of the mailers. I've gotten some physical therapy mail over the years. I put it in the other room. I showed you the knee pain one before, but this one is not related to physical therapy. This one is a license plate with my name on it. Now, Jimmy knows and Tony knows.
You ain't Jersey? You're from Jersey?
Well, so I'm from Jersey, and we've gotten 2 or 3 car leases from Jersey.
Understood.
So that's why this is New Jersey plates, which it actually doesn't. Yeah, they should have. If they really wanted to customize it, it should have been a New York plate, since they're sending it to a New York address. And I won't show my address the way that Jimmy McKay does on live internets.
No one's shown up yet.
But anyway, so this I thought was unique because, wow, it caught my attention. It was my name. And most of the time it's like this, like at the back of it is just like a white, performance, Woodbridge Services, whatever, dealership. Anyway, why should you care if you're watching or listening about your physical therapy practice? So I'm looking to do something like this, not with the patient or individual's name on it. But I was telling Tony in the pre-interview, I'm making a flyer like this, like a 6-inch by 11-inch flyer to go to targeted addresses in Manhattan. And it's going to be about golf. And my question to the panel here, my buddies, my question also to the open internet that's watching or listening, is, should I focus on golf pain only, like in the headline? Like, so right now my provisional headline is pain with golf, ? Because, got milk, ? Like 2 words or 3 words, like really big and bolded, will work really well with a flyer or any, advertisement or headline. But I also have in there like the secondary, like the sub headline of that. I can pull it up, but it's, and I'm on my phone, so I can't share my screen, but the secondary headline is about performance. So it's like, do you want to end your pain and return to peak performance ? So like the secondary headline is about the performance of golf. If I send this to a whole bunch of addresses, some small percentage of people will actually be golfers who have pain, right? So I know the response rate is low anyway from flyers, and the idea is that I'm going to be sending multiple flyers over the next several weeks and months to the same addresses. So in the beginning, it's going to be golf, and then it's going to be about knee pain only, and then it's going to be about back pain or sciatica only. So it's going to be like condition-specific mailers in the mail, direct to the consumer in a flyer like this, because they don't even have to open it. So they, they get eyeballs on it, hopefully, unless they have an assistant, which some of my clients do. So the person that has golf pain may or may not even see it. They may or may not open up their own mail. Those are some of the considerations that I'm thinking about with making this. But obviously, it's a direct response flyer to get them to call us in regards to a golf swing analysis. But maybe it's 2 things, and maybe you guys can give me some feedback. Like I should maybe do one about golf pain, like back pain and elbow pain, or just pain with golf. Maybe that's one. And maybe a separate one is about golf swing analysis, golf performance, hit the ball, an extra 20 or 30 yards off the tee, improve your shot consistency by 40 or 50%, increase your ability to, your bragging rights with your friends and buddies and coworkers. And then you could, that you're golfing better than whatever. So that's my question to you guys is, if it's a golf flyer from a physical therapy practice like mine, does it make sense to mention both of these, pain and performance, or would they be 2 separate campaigns or flyers?
Jimmy?
Yeah, I see. I'll give an example. JP Guidry, I don't know if you follow him online. He does a really good example of this. This is what he focuses on. If you do 2 things, I think if you miss on the first, the second doesn't pay attention. So I would focus on one, but is the flyer the only way you can hit them? And I'm sure you're thinking of this as well, which is different ways that you can hit the same message. So how long is this campaign? We'll call it one campaign. We'll call it Dave's Golf Campaign. How long in your mind is this going on? Because you said you're going to do multiple flyers.
Well, I plan on doing at least for the next 3 to 6 months. But each one is, it's not going to be golf. The first 1 or 2 might be golf, but then it's going to be knee, just general knee, like orthopedic knee pain, did your doctor tell you have bone on bone, you need a knee replacement, there's nothing that can be done, whatever. And then there'll be like a low back pain or sciatica one. So, but if these work in terms of the ROI, right? So, now you got to talk about designing them, printing them,
mailing them,
postage costs, all that. But I just running numbers, like every 250 that get mailed out, like I only need like 1 or 2 patient visits to actually call in, like a patient to call in and do like 2 visits and would like cover it all, or at least break even.
So I would say, since you're using a mass communication strategy, I would make your message really precise. Because if you're trying to mass communicate a message to a mass audience, and the message is mass, it's too diluted. I would go specific. Since you're landing in their mailbox, I almost said inbox. Since you're landing in their mailbox, kids' mailboxes are like actual physical boxes that mail shows up in. I would go really specific. I think you could. But I think the specific doesn't necessarily have to be what the issue is. Like JP does a really good example. Is like, do you want to hit it longer? Are you having problems? Is it harder to get on the tee box this year versus last year? I can help with that. So the outcome is playing more golf or feeling better when you're done with golf versus what it is. Because it could be a multitude of things. It could be knee. It could be ankle. You never said ankle. I didn't know you did ankles.
I wonder too if it's one of those things that you could dig deeper, slice that pie a little smaller in the sense that I wrote down, okay, so golf pain isn't always orthopedic, right? Like when I'm thinking of the guys that are golfers that have come in here, that have talked to me, I am not a golfer. But most of the pain, the worst pain in the world, it's not orthopedics, it's not shoulder and back and hip and knee. It's embarrassment. Yeah, it's slicing or drawing or whatever. It's, missing the putt. It's those things, being embarrassed in front of your friends. So I do think kind of a tagline related to that is something that would resonate, because there's a million golf pain marketing things out there, but it's like, the pain isn't always orthopedic, or the pain isn't always in your back. Sometimes it's in your head, whatever you want to say. The other thing, when I was thinking about getting really specific on this, and I don't know, New York, I mean, you're so densely populated there. It's the people I shared a couple months ago, maybe somebody had texted me and said that they were having an issue and they were planning on going on a trip. It was a golf trip. And so what made that person say, I will pay you, I want to come in, what can I do right now? It was the urgency of the golf trip that was planned for the next week. And so to put a flyer out there, basically saying something like, quote, it never fails. You booked a trip for your dream golf vacation, and now you throw your back out. Something that's targeting not just golfers in pain, but golfers with a big event coming up. Maybe they're going to play in, a tournament, a fundraiser. They're going to travel. They're going to Pebble Beach, or they're going to Florida, or they're going to wherever. Targeting that demographic because they have the urgency to say, I need to get this taken care of. And then the last thing I was going to say, kind of playing on what Jimmy was saying, from what I've heard, and I'm not good at this yet, the paid ad, whether it's a print, a postcard, a Facebook ad, whatever, the paid ad kind of forces them to see you, but then a lot of them will look for your organic content, so something on there, whether it be a QR code or whatever, something that takes them to then your organic videos and educational information on, the condition and the performance, so they get a chance to understand who you are. You're an athlete, you play baseball, you're a golfer. These are the things that you've accomplished and you've done. I think that would be a big component with it too.
Lowering their score is a big one, right? Isn't that? I mean, that's ultimately they want to have a lower score.
Yeah,
or not as good as the preventing the issues, preventing the slicing, preventing
right,
like the embarrassment. If I could use that, I think that's something that's overlooked with a lot of ads, especially for whether it's golf coaches or physical therapists or folks in between.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm perfectly healthy. I don't really have any issues, and I'm not going to lower my score. But that's a playing golf more often issue, right? But what's preventing you from playing golf more often? It could be something that Dave could help with. I can play golf 100 times a year. I'm never going to get any better. That's me. It's not going to happen. I don't like it enough.
I want to stay on this topic, but real quick, I got to address Dan Vapney's comment. He said most people don't want to write more notes. So this is one of those.
I've said this before about Tony's idea of the Medicare benefit. Going back to the beginning of the show, Medicare beneficiary comes in for 5 visits that week instead of 2 or 3. Dan, I 100% agree. Tony is making his therapist write more notes, more admin. I didn't go that hard at going against you with this topic earlier today. I've done it on other episodes. I was a little more subdued today. But Dan, you're 100% correct. I have mentioned that before. Tony has a rebuttal. Here we go. What do you got?
Wait, what's Jimmy's gonna say?
Not going to write any notes. It's going to use AI to write those notes.
Yes.
What are you talking
Like,
about?
who's writing notes? Are we serious in this? Like,
What
with
are
the
you talking about?
technology, I mean, if I had a quill and an inkwell, I would agree with Dan 1,000,000%. We are not doing that any longer. Like, I have been neck deep in AI and automation with note writing, bringing in elements that is unique to me. I understand what you're saying, Dan, 100%, and that's a very common complaint. But yeah, you're writing a 1-unit note, not a 4-unit note. So when you look at the note, it is based on what was done. You're filling an hour. Whether I'm seeing 6 people in an hour, I'm quadrupling my profit. Or I'm seeing 1 person an hour, I'm writing an hour's worth of documentation for an hour of time. It's really technically not more notes, but now you bring in AI and you bring in scribes and you bring in that other stuff, forget it. Like, it is a no-brainer. That's not a reasonable objection anymore. Okay, back to Dave. So what I did recently, and I don't know if you guys saw it, it was a LinkedIn post. I'm not going to share it. It was from a company that I know. I know the CEO well. We go back a long time. They put out a post about fall prevention. And it was your typical post about fall prevention, right? And it was like, hey, this many people a year fall and this many, results in hospitalizations and a bunch of stats. And then call us to stop falling or something. Completely useless piece of content. It's not going to motivate anyone. It's not going to interest anyone. It's not going to gain subscribers. It's going to have zero function on your feed. So I took a screenshot, and this is what I would do with Dave. I would take a screenshot of what you're thinking about putting out, but I took a screenshot, I put it into ChatGPT 4.0 for reference. I said, hey, tell me what's wrong with this ad. And then it gave me the list. And then I said, okay, using Alex Hermosi's $100 million offer framework, I want you to create a better ad. So then it generated a better ad. And then I gave it a couple recommendations and I said, hey, using copywriting techniques from Gary Halpert, I want you to add copywriting elements to this. And it got really good. Like, it was talking about the fear and the anxiety and laying on the floor and all of these things. And then I took it 1 step further. I said, most of the patients who would benefit from this service are not going to be the ones who are actually signing up for physical therapy. I want you to change the focus demographic to the adult child of the parent who's going to be falling. And I want you to write the ad for that person. I want you to include the fact that, you're noticing mom and dad are falling or losing their balance more often. You're busy working full time. You're busy raising your family, your children. Now your parents need a full-time caregiver. I brought up topics like, your parents have been fiercely independent their whole life. They don't want a stranger coming in, telling them when to go to the bathroom, telling them how to take a shower. They don't want a stranger walking around their house, going outside for smoke breaks. Like, I see it. I see it in my neighborhood. Even, we're all going to be dependent on someone at some point, but it's very different when you have a stranger who's going out, coming back in, reeking of cigarette smoke, all this kind of stuff. So it wrote such a great little ad.
You gonna read it?
Here. Okay, so I'm going to share it, actually. I'll put it into the chat.
Yeah, sweet.
It's pretty short. And then what I did, just so you guys know, I took this and I threw, I'm testing a still image and a video of somebody on the Biodex Reactive Step Trainer working on gait and working on balance. But basically, real quick, it said, worried about your aging parent falling again? We can help. Your parents deserve to stay safe and independent at home. But if they've been slipping, tripping, or losing their balance and risk of serious fall is getting too high to ignore, at Total Therapy Solutions, Middletown, Ohio, we specialize in fall prevention through our exclusive Biodex Bodyguard training. Now, it came up with Bodyguard training to a proactive solution designed to help seniors stay steady on their feet, Medicare-covered physical therapy. If your patient is if your parent is already experiencing balance loss, Medicare Part B will cover, note, the initial evaluation and the treatment plan to improve strength, balance, blah, blah, blah. Exclusive balance training, Biodex Reactive Step Trainer, our cutting edge system allows seniors to practice walking and recovery, slips and trips without risking a fall, thanks to our overhead harness system. Peace of mind for families. Feel confident knowing that your mom or dad is receiving expert care in the safest hands. Medicare may cover therapy. Biodex Balance Guard program is available for an additional $500 a month. Help your loved ones stay safe at home longer before the next fall happens. Call us to book an initial evaluation. There are other iterations of it that had more storytelling, more drama, more emotion. I'll put together some sort of combination, but I love the idea of having this sounding board and then being able to bring in specific elements. Alex Hermosi, Gary Halper, like Seth Godin, whoever you want to bring in to bring context to the content. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's the way I use it, and I think that's the way that you should. I mean, the first GPT I created was called Very G, and it was a mix of Gary V, Adam Grant, Seth Godin, and like some of their personalities are not the same and not similar. They're vastly different, right? Like Godin's probably like the more like subdued. Adam Grant's a little subdued, but kind of in the middle, and Gary V is like in your face. But like it is good to see these different approaches. I think that's a good use of artificial intelligence right now. Not necessarily have it write the final product, but have it write several versions of it and see which ones you're like, yeah, I could see that last person that walked through my door, that message would have resonated. Several of the things that you just said there resonated with me because if I was in Middletown, Ohio, I might be one of your ideal readers to then take action.
Quick issue with ChatGPT. Yesterday, I was trying to take a headshot of one of my therapists and remove the white background so I could add it to this flyer that we're talking about. ChatGPT gave it a crack at it about 10 times, was not able to remove the white background from the headshot. I had to open up Canva. I dropped the headshot in Canva. It took 2 seconds, took the white background out, saved it as a new file, took that headshot of my therapist, put it on the flyer that I'm making in Vistaprint. And yes, Tony, ChatGPT is excellent for rewording and improving ad copy. Yes, it still cannot take white background off of a headshot. I know Tony's going to say, "Oh, it'll get there. It's getting there." But just that, as much as it can provide for us, we have some level of expectation sometimes. And I thought it could easily do that thing, and it couldn't.
Yeah,
I agree. I don't do any graphics or images through DALL-E or ChatGPT. If I want to remove a background, it's Canva 1,000,000%.
Yeah, I've generated some original graphics. That's what I'll do. Like, remember the Funko Pops, the little dolls? That was like the thing to test with DALL-E's. Make yourself a Funko Pop. You can go original. I'd rather it be really, really good at words right now. Focus on words. I can go to Canva for those other things.
It's weird. I thought I shared the video on the post, but I guess I never actually published it. I will take the written copy and the video clip. I'll publish it today on my business page, and then next week we'll come back and we'll see how it performed.
Sounds good.
All right. What do we got?
Parting shots?
Yeah, let's do it. Parting shots. So, big part of the conversation. You can be a fighter, and there are personality. My wife. So speaking of my wife, told you guys I hired a physical therapist.
It's your wife.
My wife is out there right now. She maintained her license. She's never gave it up. We started the practice together. We grew the business together. We've done everything together. But once my 16-year-old was born, she was out of patient care. Now we've sucked her back in. So we're hoping to squeeze a few hours out of her each morning to get in here and kind of right the ship, because I'm not the great leader that I wish I was. So she's the therapist that we hired and brought on.
I'm so confused how we've been doing this live stream this long. Not even a cameo from your wife.
Oh, are you kidding?
Yeah.
She is anti-camera, anti-every. We had people come out to Ohio, and she was like, "Oh, I don't want to come out there and meet them." But she is phenomenal. She played college basketball, scored 1,000 points, like all of these accolades to her name, but you would never know any of it. And she is by far head and shoulders, brains, and everything behind the operation. So.
So
But what
she didn't need to be re-interviewed. She didn't have to submit references or anything. No reference check, no background checks, nothing like that.
I did ask if she had kids and if they were going to be a problem. If she was going to be leaving for 6 kids, like, forget it. Oh, shoot. So anyway, I was saying, parting shot. You can be a fighter. She is a fighter. She is going to fight. She is going to do what she believes is right no matter what. Or you could be, a non-fighter. You can find the solution within the problem. Like, it's always there. There is always an easier way to make something good happen. That tends to be the road that I choose. Find the easy solution. It doesn't have to be a battle. What you got, Dave?
I'm a fighter. I mean, it's I think it's well known by now, but if not, I mean, if my partners and team, if we go and partner or acquire an in-network clinic, maybe that'll change over time. If we find something that's got a great reputation, profitable, all that. But from what my model is, and so many of my friends and colleagues, Adam Gavilli, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on names. Gina Williams, Christian Marshall, all the therapists, Joel Giffen. I mean, there's so many practice owners, Joe Castelli in New York City, that are out of network or self-pay. Maybe they take a little Medicare, but for the most part, the commercial payers they're out of. And maybe that's a little bit of my how I would do things, or how I do things, or how also the New York City market is. And like a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of consumers understand why a lot of therapists are out of network. Again, there's a bunch that are in network still. So anyway, it is what it is. And I will be continue to fight and or laugh and poke fun at these posts that are talking about like the 2 and 3 and 4% reduction, and people getting mad at insurance and all that. It's like, take your destiny in your own hands, make it happen. Got to do things differently, run different ads, try different marketing. I do online marketing now. Now I'm talking about sending paper mailers to people's houses. It sounds crazy, but it could work. And you got to try different things. So yeah, it's my parting shot.
Yeah, I would say be water, right? I think both of you are fighters, but also you go with the flow, which is be water, which is figure out what problem you're actually trying to solve, and then try to solve that problem. By all means, I think we said this when Tony was off screen for a second, which is we could complain about it. We could send people to Capitol Hill, and I'm glad that we do. But if we hold our breath for those things to make massive results, we're going to pass out. So be water, figure out what problem you're actually trying to solve, and go with that.
All right, guys, I love it. PT Breakfast Club, Tuesday, Thursday morning, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Come check out PT Pinecast, Dave Kittle Show, learn Medicare billing. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.